Okay, we have got it to work under some silly conditions. There we go. All right. Okay, camera is working, which is good. Let's see if technology allows us to actually do this. Okay, so hey Mons, glad you could join us. It works now, yes. Rinbox, hey, how you doing? Okay. Should it be working now? Yes, it is. Hurrah. Oh my gosh. Yes, the tape Kremlins, exactly. And the worst part about it is that I tested it before and the camera was there, but honestly, Apple sometimes has some issues or some challenges with cameras and different cameras, but luckily we can use this camera. Okay. Yeah, so we're doing a live stream. Woohoo! Thought it'd be a fun idea to connect with everyone and kind of just share some of the thoughts and ideas around, of course, this full moon. And I see people are joining, which is always good. How well can you hear me, by the way? Like how good is the sound coming through? Yeah, blame Mercury retrograde or the shadow. Yes, absolutely. I mean, this was pretty straightforward setting this up. So, you know, there's a possibility of doing more of these moving forward. Okay. Again, I'm just busy looking at some of the settings over here to see how this is working. And we can even toggle timestamps. That's great. Okay. A lot of energy today. Do you mean that you have a lot of energy, Morgan, or that there's a lot of energy and you're needing to do a lot of things? Because that would be probably good old Mars in Aries hanging about. Okay, the sound sounds great. That's awesome. So I'm going to quickly pop out the chat so I can read it there. Okay, got it. Hey, Celeste, or Celestial. You were born with the moon in Sag, Mons? Awesome. How you doing, Sarah? Good morning to you. How you doing, Eleanor? Good to see all of you join in. Good opportunity to just jump on while it was there. It was a very short notice things. Plenty of energy yesterday. I mean, there is quite a lot of energy that is present with us right now. There's a lot of transformation that's taking place. So the plan today in today's conversation is to talk about this full moon, of course, and integrate some human design into it as well. I give the message that both Jen and I have sensed that has materialized out of this, giving some guidance, some support, maybe even some validation for some of the experiences that you've been going through, essentially. So that's kind of the scope today. Unfortunately, with the current software that I'm utilizing at the moment, it doesn't allow me to share the screen. And so I can't actually share the screen of the chart, which is a bit disappointing on my end, because I'd really like to kind of show you how things are going. But you can always go to astro.com or Lunar, and you can always go and look at the full moon chart itself. Just put in the dates and the time. You can look up the exact time. So you can do that as well. I might be able to find a way to link the new moon chart, or sorry, the full moon chart to this actual video. So, you know, you can kind of look at that while watching this video as well, for those of you that are not joining us live. Okay. So yeah, I think there's quite a lot of people that have joined already, so we'll just jump in straight into it. So let's start off with the fact that I'm just trying to find a point of reference. Okay, I'm going to do this instead. So One of the insights that I recently had with Saturn retrograde. So recently, I just did a video on Saturn retrograde, and of course, Saturn is very important at the moment in the context of the astrology, and this is primarily because it has a relationship to the nodes of the moon. Okay, so the south node of the moon is in Scorpio at the moment. The north node of the moon is in Taurus, and the nodes of the moon act like roads, okay, that we journey on. So imagine you needed to go from point A to point B, okay? It's like on a train or in your car, even in an airplane. Point A would be like where you're leaving, and point B would be the destination. And you can think of the nodes as a framework, a line in which you experience a journey, essentially. So when the nodes are in the signs that they're in, we can expect to experience those themes in our personal lives, but also in the collective's lives. Okay. So again, there's a video that I created, which was the lunar nodes. Highly encourage you to go check that out, because I touch on some really important themes that Scorpio Taurus speak to. Scorpio Taurus are very much themes that have to do with individual creative expression. Like they're very much part of that process. And they also have to do with other themes that we're currently wrestling with in the collective at the moment. Like, for instance, resources. Okay. So Scorpio would say, where are the resources? Taurus would say, here are the resources. Okay. Scorpio would say, how do we distribute these resources in a way that allows people to utilize resources to build things, to create things, to engineer things, to utilize, to consume. Okay. So how does resource distribution work in a small community of, say, 20 people? How does resource distribution work in a city, right? And you can sort of expand further in terms of like the entire globe. So these themes of supply chains, resources, and in an individual sense, like where do you take your time and energy, and what do you do with it? So when you wake up in the morning, most of us will have these little boxes that we exist within, and these boxes will reflect our kind of worldview and definition of life. And we'll go about our day executing certain responsibilities, and we'll do certain things that we need to do in order to maintain a sense of security, a sense of pattern in our lives, to uphold whatever structures that are there. And this continuity, this process of commitment and taking your energy and applying your energy to the things that consume your time, is very much a Scorpio Taurus axis as well. Okay. And the Saturn square in Aquarius at the moment, just like I said in Saturn retrograde, it's pushing the button in each and every one of us, whether it be external forces or whether it be internal pressure, to begin to ask the question, like, how do I distribute my resources in my life? How do I want to give my time and attention to this? Are these the resources, are these the resources that I want to interact with? How do I feed myself? Okay, not only just in terms of actual food itself, but in terms of things like, what do you consume on the internet? What types of conversations do you have with people? These are, again, Scorpio Taurus themes, because they speak to what you are allowing to come into your field of awareness and then interact with. And that deeply impacts the way that you perceive the world, the way that you draw ideals about how you want things to be in your life, your dreams, expectations, the type of structure that you want to uphold in your life. These are all the things that will fall under this category. And at the bottom of it is, when you wake up in the morning, how do you plan your day? Or not even plan your day. It's like, how do you navigate? right? How do you know what you want to give your time and attention to or not? So Saturn's really pushing that button on a lot of people at the moment and questioning whether or not this is actually true for you. Like, is this how you want to live? Okay. And so that's why I was really inspired by a poem that's called Boxes, as not only the message of this full moon, but also the impact and the power of the nature of the times that we are currently living in right now. Okay. So I actually, within the like the description, I actually posted the poem there itself. And so what I want to lead into here with the insight, particularly around Saturn retrograde, is that I'm curious how you've experienced it, but what I've noticed, other people have kind of shared the same experience, is that when Saturn went retrograde, there was an acceleration of a lot of things that you wanted to have happen in your life. Okay. And that acceleration felt like there was a release valve on a lot of things that you've been planning for, say, the last 6 months, like a lot of things that you've been processing, a lot of things that you have been wanting to maybe get done, or that you've wanted to action, or you wanted to move somewhere, you wanted to take this job, and so when Saturn retrograde came along, it kind of opened up this barrier, and it allowed for energy to move through, and for us to, in a sense, especially because there is a kind of Uranian theme to the way that this energy would manifest itself, is that things accelerated, right? There was more openness in certain dimensions of your life. So this Saturn retrograde speaks a lot to the message today, especially around boxes, because, and I'm going to kind of move over to now the Sun in Gemini, with Mercury retrograde now entering back into Gemini. Okay, so the Sun is now, of course, in Gemini. It's sitting at 23 degrees, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I'm looking at the chart right now. So 23 degrees of Gemini. The full moon is sitting right there at 23 degrees of Sagittarius. And this axis of Sag and Gemini, and again, like I said, Mercury has just moved into Gemini. The Mercury Sagittarius context in relation to Saturn turning retrograde, Saturn squaring the nodes, okay, has to do with a struggle between what to focus on. Okay, so lots of new experiences, lots of new situations and circumstances have opened up energetically, and it's like needing to give attention to multiple things. Okay, so this Mercury retrograde has really allowed for things to move forward, and being in Gemini, it adds this flavor of got, I'm all over the place. Like, I'm doing this over here, I'm doing this over here, like really paying attention to multiple threads all at once. And when a new moon takes place, when a full moon takes place, of course, it's still part of the new moon cycle. So the new moon in Gemini had a lot to do with initiation. So now that Saturn has turned retrograde, and we have Mars and Chiron and Jupiter all in Aries, there's an energy of initiation, like this inertia is moving forward. And the Gemini feature says, well, what do you want to pay attention to? Where the Sag part comes in, right, the opposite sign, is to answer that question, you have to self-reflect. And that reflection, that self-reflection, needs to lean you towards, well, what is your truth? Right? That's the Sag part. So there's multiple avenues, there's multiple things to interact with. Well, which journey do you want to take? Which one is the correct one for you? Right? And so the more that you're able to get succinct with your own cosmology, Sagittarius, your own perception of reality, your own way of seeing something, then that will allow for the decisions, or these multiple choice decisions, to be able to come to more of something that's specific. Like, well, what do you want to give your time and attention to? What do you want to feed your awareness to? And it has a lot to do with where do you want your time and attention to go? And then how do you cultivate or nurture or build a foundation or a structure that you can exist within, that honors your truth, that honors the values that you wish to live by, the relationship dynamics that you want to hold, the the value within yourself. Like what type of work would you like to do if you're somebody that likes to do work, right? This is very much an introspective kind of relationship to coming into alignment with your vision of reality, which is a really interesting thing because, and I want to talk about this idea of boxes as well and the nature of the human design. So in human design at the moment, again, I can't share the screen, unfortunately, so that's a bit of a pity. But if you look at for those of you that understand human design and know what it is, at the moment, you've got the sun sitting in gate 12, right? You've got the earth sitting in gate 11. They're all in line 1, by the way. And then you also have the throat. The throat center is activated, okay? So you have 43, 23 activated, and then you have 20 and 12 activated. So at the moment, to make this more easier for us to digest, for those of that are not into human design, at the moment, right now, this full moon is like oozing and emanating deep individual circuitry, deep individual voice, okay? It's highly, highly individual. So if I were to translate it back to Uranian or Australian into astrology, the message has to do with deep individuality, okay? Like, right, deeply sinking into your truth, deeply sinking into your sense of the way that you express yourself, the way that you share your passion, your voice, your creativity to the world, right? This is bringing it to the surface and saying, who are you, right? So this poem about the boxes is fascinating in the context of this astrology, and here is why. I want you to imagine in your minds the story of Saturn retrograde. Okay, this is very much about the impulse to try to be yourself. Okay, while living in a world where there is a great deal of need for control, need for dominance. You can think of governmental structures that impose or enforce will, right? You think of the relationship between the child and the parent as an example, right? There's lots of many different other versions of ways that control and domination can take place. Now, away from that and coming more towards things like the way that we and people have been conditioned to come into the world and say, well, this is how the world looks. This is what you should do. This is the right road to take, and you should follow that. And in many ways, a lot of people will find that groove and say, okay, yeah, sure, I can do that. And there are many other people that will turn around and say, I don't fit into that. I don't fit into that. That is what the essence of this full moon represents. When you kind of synthesize the nature of the astrology and the human design together, according to the way that we see it, is that this energy is very much pulsating and pushing through individual expression. What's unique about you? What's different about you? You know, what's your creative passions? What your like ways of being able to understand the frequency that you are? What's your creative pursuit? And a lot of people will go, I have no idea. And that's the boxes. It's the place where we've arrived to. And this has a lot to do with the upcoming program that me and Jen are putting together, that is going to essentially help us and support us in processing the bridge from living a life where here's the values that you need to subscribe to. Here's the boxes that you need to be in. And for many people, they don't want to be in that box because that box doesn't mirror the internal sense of creativity or purpose. And so people shut down and they hide. Your voice doesn't come out and say, hey, this is me. There's lack of uniqueness. And so within the context of your sense of identity, you walk around and it's like, well, am I this? Am I this? Am I this? And we search for these things outside of ourselves. And large part of this process is living a life that is, it can be rooted in early life childhood trauma. And again, when I use the word trauma, I don't mean in the sense of like car accident trauma. I mean just in the sense of consistently being told that your emotions don't matter, your feelings don't matter, the way that you see the world is silly, there's something wrong with you. You know, if you challenge the authority, if you challenge your parents, say, well, why is this the case? Oh, stop asking stupid questions. Like these types of ways of messages that would have been confusing to you growing up has led you to have a part of yourself that doesn't fully live out here. It's hidden. And this can materialize as perfectionism. This can materialize as false personalities that you create in order to meet the world. So it's like, oh, you go out into the world and you put on a mask. It's like, that's how the world I want to see the world through that lens, and that's how the world wants to see it through me. And what happens is that we don't live in that authentic space. And so this energy, this full moon, this energy right now is really pulsating through with Venus conjunct Uranus and saying, it's time to begin practicing self-connection. Okay, self-connection to the self. It's time to begin to create space within your life where you realize your own sense of journey and your own experience. And for a lot of people, that's yeah, okay, I do that. But this is more about actually tearing away the false personas and not living a lie or living the false truth or the collective truth, but actually being able to speak up about what is uniquely you. Right? Being say, well, actually, this is my position on it, or this is how I feel about it, and explore and think about your own ways of seeing the world. Recognize how you see the world. Like for me, as an example, let's take a silly example. Like I build my world primarily around the basis of astrology. And I know that. I'm like, okay, I see a lot of things through the mechanism that is astrology. And in one part, I'm like, yeah, I see it because that's how I make sense of things. But there's also a part of me that chooses not to do that. And so the idea here is to kind of really try to live a life where you synthesize the different ways that you understand the world, how you contextualize it, how you form your world vision, and question the things like, is this a part of me that I do because if I do it this way, I'll get the validation and the appreciation, and that appreciation will make me feel seen. And that feeling of seen will then meet the underlying abandonment wound that I have inside of me. Where are you? This would be the question. Where are you standing in your truth and saying, this is what I am. This is who I am. Where are you still noticing yourself put up certain protections because there's a feeling of rejection? Like if I do this, then I won't be rejected. And these are the types of questions pulsating through. And again, with Saturn retrograde at the moment, and alongside now Mars and Jupiter and Chiron, is an invitation to free yourself of these things, to do it in a new way. So you arrive at the same point and you go, okay, previously at this point, I would have felt vulnerable, would have felt insecure. And so I would have put up a wall or protection and I would have behaved a certain way. The question with this full moon is to ask yourself, do I still want to live that truth? And then go even deeper and say, is this my truth? Is this the truth I want to subscribe to? Is this the truth I want to live by? Are these the resources and the time that I want to invest in my life to live this way? And if the answer to some of the things is no, I don't want to do that, well, this is the perfect time to begin asking yourself the question, you know what? I don't need this protection anymore. I don't need this false persona anymore. I don't need this belief that this is how life should be. And to begin to kind of open up parts of our sense of identity and looking at the way that the world is and saying, maybe this is not how I want to live. And it's a very scary thing. It's a very, very, very scary thing. So what I'm advocating for here is one of the reasons why the program that we've put together is so important, is because a lot of people, and I said this in the previous one, the previous videos, that we arrive at this point where we start to decondition things, right? We start to take off we don't feel like we want to do this anymore. This is not how we want to live, right? We feel that we're giving energy to something only to maintain it or keep it alive, but it's not where the core of our sun exists, right? It's not the core of where our sun exists. And so we feed something that is essentially false. But when we take that away, the question is, well, now what? Who am I? We have nurtured that part, like I said. So this is where the Chiron and the Aries comes in here. It's now shock and initiation. We're into this space. And it's like, okay, well, what now? And for the most part, there isn't anything outside of that boundary. There isn't a new world that you live within that says, well, this is, this is a continuation of now my creative self. Like, this is the part of me that is false and only created because this is what I was told to do or what the world looked like. But when I'm here and I'm acknowledging the sensations in my body, I'm acknowledging my feelings, I'm acknowledging the way I choose to see the world, etc., what I want to give my time and attention to when I'm on the other side, it's very difficult to navigate from that space because you're not seeking instructions anymore from the outside world. You're not being prompted by the following of you should do that or do this. And so the burden of carrying that responsibility of who am I can be very difficult and often scary. And so that's why it's so easy to lean back into the, okay, well, just tell me what to do kind of thing. Or if I just keep doing this one thing that I don't like, but I'm doing it because it provides me with a sense of comfort in knowing that I can just expect it, right? And for me, in my personal human design, I have the cross. It's called the cross of unexpected. And throughout my entire life, even yesterday, the experience where it was like, okay, well, this is the pattern, and then all of a sudden the pattern changes, and in an unexpected way, I'm finding myself going, whoa, a little off-put by the experience, right? Just like with this, like the video, like it's all working, and then go live, and unexpected the camera doesn't work, and it's like I have to change that in the moment. And that's so profound about Mars conjunct Chiron and Aries at the moment, especially with Jupiter there. There's this energy that just wants to cultivate something new. But outside of that new, there isn't anything developed. So it leaves you with that space of, well, what next? Or what should I do? And that's when you try to use the mind to plan forward like that, it doesn't work. And that's why you need an ability to be able to lean into your own sense, your own instincts, your own capacity to know yourself, essentially, right? And it's primarily the reason why this work is being done, because the more that you can self-reflect and have a deeper understanding of the patterns within yourself, how you would respond to things, the more that you apply self-care, which is understanding your routine, understanding how your body responds to things, giving permission for that to take over, as opposed to I should be doing this or I have to be doing that. That's the old world. The new world here is completely different. It's an emerging pattern of an ability to navigate in your own fractal, your own time, your own space. And it's so wild because when you look out at the world, you can't see it in the same way that you can sense it and feel it within inside of yourself. So this energy right now is very much pushing and cultivating this awareness around what is your truth, and it's a very profound question, because even when you say that, we still, all of us in some way, shape or form, have a shared collective ideology, right? That we can say, well, this is my truth, but is it really, or is it just a kind of shared reality that we all join to? Like even astrology to a degree is a shared experience where, again, I'm not saying that this is like your truth or my truth, but it's a shared thing, right? It's a shared ideology that we subscribe to that helps us navigate. Human design, same things. The question is being able to Taurus, Uranus and Taurus, right? Venus and Taurus, North Node and Taurus, connect to your own physical timeline, your own physical space. And every day waking up and giving 10 to 15 minutes of just concentrating and noticing your own behaviorisms, your own patterns, and beginning to tether a sense of awareness to the mechanism that is your life, your body, so that you have a better connection to the things that are right for you. Like, where's your boundaries? How do you know how to express a boundary in a way that doesn't sound like, you idiot, when you're triggered, right? Somebody's crossed a boundary, for instance, and you project into them that it's them that's causing it, whereas really it's a signal from your body to say, this is something that is uncomfortable for me or overwhelming for me, and it's being able to take that back and saying, okay, right, this is my threshold. Like, how do we know these things? So learning about these things, becoming aware of these things, is such a potent and profound tool in being able to navigate going forward. As if you just need to lean into the world to see the level of chaos that's there. And I'm sure probably for many of you that have been alive for a long period of time, this is nothing new. It's just the theme just changes, right? But today, this message on the full moon is awaken your truth, right? Awaken your truth. Awaken to the realization that you have your own experience of something, your own sensations, your own way of seeing the world, your own cognition. And while we still have to, in some way, sort of behave in communities or exist and coexist in ways that share this world with other people, the ability to get even a deeper connection to yourself leads to a stronger sense of self-assurance, that you can lead with yourself, explore yourself, like learn, like I said, like self-leadership as an example. I promoted that in a few videos here. And again, this is another great example. It's like one of the patterns that would emerge as a way to protect yourself from vulnerability would be, I need to do this perfectly, right? It has to be absolutely perfect. I'm not going to do it unless it's perfect. And so in one way, that's a really great way of seeing quality as a mechanism of motivation. But if it stops you from actually being able to do anything in your life, to take a leap of faith, to cross the threshold, to pursue the thing that matters to you, right? Because we're afraid of failure. We're afraid of being, afraid of failure. So perfect mechanism of perfection becomes a buffer that stops you from crossing that threshold. So self-leadership would be getting into a conversation with somebody that you can trust and saying, hey, would you mind helping me out with a few things here? I need to process some of my own fears. I need to ask myself the question, is this fear telling me that I need to investigate a little bit more? Do I need to learn a little bit more about the subject before I take it? Or is it telling me literally that I need to cross this threshold? I need to push myself beyond that. So what is your individual truth? What is the message that you have within you? And again, it doesn't have to be like something that changes the world in ways. It's just being authentic and being in a place where you notice the parts that you hide in fear of being rejected. Okay, this is kind of the energy at the moment. Yeah, good threshold question. Like pushing the questions. Like, is this like, fear can act in two ways. It can tell you that this is where you need to do more research or get more, gain some more information, some data, so that you have more comfort zones. Check where, just gather more data as an example to feel better in that situation, so that you have more clarity or more data. Otherwise, like I said, it can be the other thing. You just push that threshold and say, I'm afraid of failure. Okay, and then you go deeper into that process. These are the types of questions. This is the space that this energy is cultivating, like expanding your truth that is more aligned with your natural way. So we talked about earlier in other videos about like the Great Resignation, where a lot of people are realizing that the tolerance or the things that they want to do in lives are not actually what they really want to do. There's a fire that comes through and burns away the illusions of what's true for them, right? I mean, if I'm not mistaken, let me check over here quickly. I know that Neptune is squaring, Neptune, the moon, and the sun all creating a square, right? So you've got moon, Sag, sun in Gemini, and Neptune in Pisces. And this has a lot to do with the illusion of truth, right? Is this your truth, or do you buy into this truth? Are your values created around the truth that you subscribe to? Obviously. But in another sense, question that, right? Okay. Cool. So that's where I think I'm going to end today with this over here. We are going to do some more announcements regarding the program, the Awaken Inner Truth, the human design as well. So we're really excited to be sharing that with you guys a lot. This is primarily intended to give you the best tools possible to be able to navigate in an individual, self-reflected, self-governing, self-leadership way. And it's tended to develop the awareness that is necessary so that you can step in over that threshold and say, okay, this is how I navigate. This is what's unique for me. This is not what's unique for me. This is how you take ownership of your own authority, right? The Saturn material as well. So, and also describing a lot about the nature of the changes that we're coming up. So that's what we're going to be doing. We'll create some more content and awareness around that, and we'll let you know when this is going to be coming out. I'm very excited about it as well, because we know that, like I said, this Mars conjunct Chiron is just pushing that energy to say, like, I can't, the level of tolerance on something has reached a point in people, and it's like, now I need to take that leap of faith. I need to cross the threshold. I need to stop hiding my truth. I need to stop hiding from behind the false self and live your life in that sense. Okay. All right. So I'm going to stay on this combo for a little bit, and I'll check out some questions that you guys have got. And let's see. Yes, the cross of incarnation helps. That's absolutely true. So yeah, I'll answer a few questions if you guys have got some. Okay. Cool. I thought about disappearing into the crowd forever. Yeah, I mean, the sun and moon are currently in line 1 at the moment, which is called the monk. The sun's in gate 12, called caution. So it's not a surprise that there's a kind of retreating energy that's taking place. So we'll see these two polarities. We'll see a very clear sense of democracy, like this idea of democracy wanting to be perpetuated and lived through. And then you'll see environments where there will just be even more extremes of oppression taking place. My own relationship to my own authority, it's an awesome question. Through what I've been advocating and sharing with you over here right now, this is it. Like, I have a solar plexus that's conditioned, and so I know that for me it's really important, if I'm going to make big decisions in my life, to chill out. I know that if I'm nervous about something, to just wait a little bit longer. I don't make my decisions like that, and if I do need to make those decisions like that, I tend to trust my spleen. I know that, like, Pluto's in my 10th house. I know my astrology chart in ways. I know that my moon's on my north node in the 5th house. I know that creative expression and speaking up and being able to identify what I feel and acknowledge them and then express them are big parts of what's correct for me. I know what type of people I need to orientate myself around and not. So a lot of that awareness around, plus understanding my own trauma responses, my attachment theory. Like, I highly encourage every single one of you that if you're in a relationship or are preparing to get into a relationship, go and learn about your attachment style so that you understand how that works. These are the types of things that I'm talking about. Yeah. Any advice for a nodal return? I'm in the middle of mine. Yes, I would say that when you have a nodal return, understand that you will be proposed with life situations where the old and the new will meet. So current life situations, but then where you are in your life right now, you'll have certain way of seeing the world. And the idea here is to ultimately make new choices under old circumstances when you have a nodal return, and pay attention to the things that are really like pulling your attention. When I had my nodal return, which was last year this time, pardon me, there was a lot of things that were happening in my life that I knew when I paid attention to, there were the right way to be. And so sitting here today, one of them was self-leadership. And I know that 100%. So recognize that this is a time where you'll have old circumstances arrive in your life and you want to make new choices in those old circumstances. Okay. Where can you find more clear information in human design? You can go to a website called Genetic Matrix. You can go to a website called My Body Graph. Those are two places that you can go to. Absolutely. MC Taurus, DC Scorpio. In your case, Mons, I would say you need to study Venus in your chart. You need to understand the role that Venus plays in your chart. So this would be a great example, right, of what I'm talking about. So we all have these astrology charts, right? And we're like, okay, well, how does this work? And knowing that you have whatever sign that's on your MC, right, go study that planet because it will tell you deeply what that MC is about. Right? In your case, you've got Venus somewhere in your chart. Okay, so Venus retrograde, right? The fact that you have Venus retrograde in your chart tells you a great deal about the way that your relationships will work in your life. All the MC is telling you is look at your Venus retrograde and study the relationships in your life. And I would say, out of all of them, ones, that if you carry any unresolved negative feelings about yourself, in how you have been in relationships, I would question whether those values and those beliefs are adopted based on how other people perceived you as opposed to how you perceive yourself. Okay. Thinking, so somebody asked, I think it was Kevin, right? So My Body Graph or Genetic Matrix, these are places that you can go to for human design. And then of course the upcoming program as well, we're going to be helping people with that. Okay, regards from freezing Johannesburg. Yes, the high felt. Enjoy those cold temperatures. No, I'm kidding. I'm in the sunny part of Sweden at the moment, so. Okay, let's have a look. Any other questions? We'll stay on for another 2 more minutes over here. Any advice for Pluto transiting natal 12th house, Capricorn, opposed my natal Mercury? Well, I actually have had transiting Pluto in my 12th house since 2010. It's still there. My best advice to you when it comes to Pluto transiting the 12th house is to find a routine that you can stick to as much as you can, so that you don't space off into the distant realms of emptiness. I would say it's actually very important to find a routine, whether it be just watering plants, whether it be waking up every single day at a specific time and trying to stay to that. That would be a good thing to do when Pluto transits the 12th house. And then, of course, I would also do two things. One, see you will come into conflicts with certain issues in your life that you will find surrendering as a last resort. You'll be like, you want to kind of in some way be in conflict with this. But if you change your position and you begin to see that these kind of experiences are showing up in your life to show you something about what needs to be healed in you, this is probably one of the most profound transits that you can ever have in your life. And it's a good idea to see the nature of your life when Pluto is transiting your 12th house as a return to the inner realms of your psyche, to ask yourself the question, where have I been hurt? Where do I need to heal? And if you can come to that space over there, you'll really benefit from the transit. So take healing seriously. Okay. Mohammed, you're saying South Node in the 12th house, South Node 12th, North in the 6th, Jupiter, Neptune, Capricorn, feeling in limbo, please advise. Wow, Ashby, that is very electrifying to have that conjunct your ascendant. Well, I mean, this is a perfect time to free yourself from the ideas about what society or the rules or the social norms, what you should be, get out of the box and live in the way that you are, regardless of whether people say, you know, you shouldn't do it that way because of X, Y, Z. Be like, stay true to your truth. That's the message. Yeah. Gosh, I'm not really sure how to help you out, Jamo, but South Node, 12th house. Okay, North Node in the 6th. Okay, so this has a lot to do with moving away from chaos. Okay, Jupiter, Neptune in Capricorn. So I would say, just intuitively off the back, that sounds to me like somebody that needs to live a very ordered life. And I would say that it's very important for you to stay away from chaos. So the more simple your life is, the better you are with those types of transits. Okay, like try to keep your life not chaotic, like doing all the things all over the place. Just try to keep your life as simple and as calm as possible. There's Saturn in the 12th house shows a lot of uncertainty, a lot of chaos, a lot of things never going your way, a lot of surrender. And so you really want to come into healing this year and with your life, right? Just find something that you can stick to, be consistent with it, and try to keep things simple in your life. Coffee break with your soul with Dr. Meg G. That's an awesome name. What would be the greatest changes I might experience with Saturn transiting my 12th house? Again, I would say what I just told Muhammad over here. Whenever nodes transit the 12th house, there's a period of time of isolation and healing. Okay, so this is a time of withdrawing. You'll probably feel that way, not taking on too much stress, and really connecting with the deeper realms of your psyche, so that whatever comes your way, you can help yourself with. Yeah, it's really about taking a holiday and a retreat. Okay. This is where I'm going to have to end off, my friends. Thank you so much for joining me today, listening to this. I hope that you got a lot of value from it. As always, we'll post a link in the description to check out the poetry, as well as, I think, the chart of this content. And we'll post some more content very, very soonly with regards to the upcoming program that we're going to be doing. Okay, helping us awaken our truth, helping us step into a deeper state of living a way that is honoring your trajectory, so that you know how to manage that, right? In a world where being able to not receive instructions from outside, but to trust your own instincts. Okay. Yes, I will get some rest. Okay, take care, everyone. Bye. Thanks very much, Ashby. You rock. I appreciate it a lot. Thank you for your super chat, as always. If there's anything else that you want me to share for you, I'll be happy to do that. But have a fantastic day. All right, peeps. Bye-bye.